Good morning. Yesterday we listened to a talk by Sabine about handling stress as heads of language centers, and I suggested to Thomas that I share some information with you that I've collected over the past couple of years on energy and stress management that I have found extremely helpful in terms of dealing with my days at the office. And Sabine spoke about negative and positive stress, and I will explain to you what exactly is meant by these two words when they are used from a medical perspective, and secondly, how these states actually influence our performance. And thirdly, Sabine gave some suggestions in terms of how we can handle stress, and we put some suggestions on the board there, and I've selected a couple of suggestions and will explain to you why they work. Now, we live in our heads most of the time, to such an extent that we actually forget that we have bodies and that our heads are part of our bodies. And the energy that we have can only come from our body. So energy management starts with the body and it ends with the body, and that includes the mind. And one way of understanding what's happening with us when we are performing and how we can up our performance under stress is presented by a brilliant British medical scientist. This guy is an expert in 3 fields, Alan Watkins: cardiology, immunology, and cognitive science, or neuroscience rather. And he's also become an expert in management training. He's written a book called Coherence. It's one of the best books on management I've ever read. It's a book that you can read over 10 times, and he explains from a medical perspective what it actually is that lies at the basis of brilliant performance, whether it's in the arts, whether it's in management, whether it's in sports. Now, one of the things that we are very often told in terms of performance is either you've got to be in a state of arousal and activation, or they tell no, you've got to be relaxed. And these are actually two opposites. Now, you see in the performance grid on the one line at the top, activation or a state of arousal, which is connected to our fight or flight response in the body. And at the bottom, you see a state of relaxation. But that does not suffice to explain what makes out excellent performance. We need another dimension. And that dimension entails emotions that can be categorized as negative or positive emotions. Why negative and positive? Because emotions are nothing else but physical conditions in the body. There's nothing esoteric about them. We can measure them medically. We can have medical tests that will tell you whether you are experiencing anxiousness, whether you are experiencing anger, joy, inspiration, etc. Each emotion has a physical signature in the body. Anger and fear is felt by a heart racing. Fear, we often get sweaty palms. You sometimes have the feeling that your stomach is tied in a knot. So they literally have these physical effects on the body. These are even reflected in our language. We would say, for instance, oh, this was such a heartwarming experience. It was a heartwarming experience. Or, oh, I just can't stomach the guy. Why? Why do we use these expressions? We have in our nervous system 3 large knots of nerves: the stomach area, the heart area, and the brain. And negative emotions are mainly felt in the stomach area, registered in the stomach area, positive emotions in the heart area. That's why we say, I love you with all my heart. We don't say, I love you with all my elbow, because that's not where we feel it. And in German, for instance, we say, was für ein herzlicher Mensch. Der Mensch ist nicht herzlich, sein Effekt, die Impact, die auf dich hat, ist herzlich. So a person can affect you in a way that you have a heartwarming feeling. It's literally a physical response of the body. Isn't it amazing? You see something in your body goes, woo, or you see something in your body goes, oh. So we have these reactions in our bodies, and what we need to do is to always get from the states on that side of the grid to the states on this side of the grid. The states on that side are called negative stress. The states on this side are called positive stress, except the one you're at the bottom, Sunday morning mood. There's no stress involved. It's all cool. It's very relaxing. Why do we need to get from that side to this side constantly? This is what energy management means, because all the physical processes in the body that take place when we are in the zone on the left are catabolic states, in which they break down the body. And we have the hormone cortisol that the body releases when we go into that state. Now, cortisol has been related to all major diseases of our time: depression, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, you name them. So if we have constantly high levels of cortisol, we are basically programming ourselves for either an early death or earlier than necessary, or really an unpleasant time as far as our physical health is concerned. So what happens in our modern society, we get activated, we get nervous, we get angry. Small things make us angry. Standing in a queue too long, it's not a life-threatening moment, but our body, because the way we've been conditioned in the Western world, does, this is trouble, this is wrong, this is not right, and our heart goes, do, 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 do. Our blood pressure shoots up. Now, the body then releases cortisol, and if we don't break this down quick enough, we stay in this state, and it creates a very vicious cycle in the body. So that's the first thing. Medically, it's not a very wise thing to do. Secondly, when we go into this zone, we basically, what Alan Watkin calls, carry out a DIY lobotomy. We basically cut or sever our own frontal lobes, because when the body goes into a stress state, it needs its energy to fight or to run away. And our higher cognitive functions use a lot of energy. That's why we all have such beautiful bodies sitting here, you see, because we use our higher cognitive capabilities the whole time. So that burns a lot of energy. But the body says, look, I can't. If there's a saber-toothed tiger running towards me, looking at it from an evolutionary point of view, the mind says, it's not a good idea to stand down and think, I wonder which species that might be. At that stage, we don't need those abilities. We need to run away or we need to fight. So we basically lose some of our ability to think straight. And that's why sometimes, especially in intense moments, you have that feeling of you blacked out, either because you were very angry or very nervous and you just couldn't get the right answer. Or that moment when you freeze. For instance, if the body goes in a state of hypertension, somebody asks you a question, you just go, oh. And nothing comes. And you think, what's wrong with me? Well, hormones, that's what's wrong with you. So in the long run, you're causing yourself to become ill. In the short term, you're not capable to perform optimally because you are not connected to all of your mental capabilities. So you've got to come to this side of the grid. Now, it's not good to stay at the top the whole time. A problem in Western society is that we've told ourselves we've got to perform. That's not healthy. You have to relax where you are not on this heightened state of arousal, and we have to alternate between these states. So allow yourself your Sunday morning moods with a croissant and a cup of coffee and a relaxing chat with somebody that you love. And that is very important. What is wonderful about this top state, however, if we're in this emotional state, we are capable of our best performances. And the world-famous Hungarian psychologist Csikszentmihalyi described this state as a state of flow, or athletes call it the zone. It's when you lose track of time and you perform, and afterwards you look upon your performance and you think, how on earth did I do that? And that is where the juice is. That's where we want to get at, but not all of the time. We need to relax as well. Now the question is, and I'll end with this, these suggestions that we've had and that you can do, why? Why do they work? And why do they get us from the left to the right? And I can't explain all of them to you. I'll just choose a couple of them. The example of going for a walk in a park, why does that work? When we exercise, it influences our breathing. And our breathing influences our heart rate variance. Now, heart rate, we only focus on heart rate, fast or a slow heart rate. But that only a part of what makes us healthy. Your heart rate variance refers to the length of the beats between the, or the length of time between the heartbeats. And that needs to be rhythmic. And if we are stressed, it's in total chaos, and it puts the whole body into physiological chaos, because the heart is the strongest organ. It has 5,000 times the electromagnetic energy of the brain. It's amazing. This organ is absolutely a miracle of evolution. And if we influence our heart through our breathing, it then has an influence on all the processes in the body, and we can bring ourselves to the center, and then from there go on to the right-hand side, from where you're looking to the left-hand side, sorry. Please watch Alan Watkinson's presentation on this on TED.com, where he literally demonstrates how it works. He puts somebody in a stressful situation on stage, then lets him breathe for 1 minute, and his heart rate variance stabilizes again. It's amazing. So we bring coherence to our body. We bring our body in a good physical space again, so that we can think straight again. Why in a park? Research shows that being outside in nature, due to our evolution and the way we've developed, has a very positive effect on our physical functioning. So again, positive physiological processes are stimulated in the body. Then we had an example such as talk about the problem with a third party, or drawing and singing. Why do we talk to people when we're not feeling well? 2 reasons. When our minds are limited, it helps to go to another person and say, can you please lend me your mind? Can you bring in a new perspective? Because when we are stressed, we start to think in circles. We don't have access to our higher cognitive capabilities, so we need somebody else to pull us out of it. And secondly, the connection to people is something that releases positive hormones again. And finally, somebody said, yell at my children and then walk the dog. Actually, yelling at your children causes more stress and does not reduce the stress. So does saying things like, oh, I've got so much to be thankful for. You know, there are children in Africa who are really suffering. This does not help us, because the mind, actually, because of the way we function as social beings, goes into a stress state. We all know that, feelings of guilt. I'm doing so well, those people are doing so poorly. So don't say to your children, be thankful, you know, there are people suffering all over the world. That's not really very helpful. That actually causes more stress. So, but walking the dog, the connection with animals again, is something that is very positive. And movement, something that I forgot to say about movement. If we move, we break down cortisol in the body. And we see it in animals as well. After a fight or some movement, animals shake out. And that is a way of breaking down excess cortisol in the body. So to wrap it up, what we need to do as managers is to manage our own energy by developing what is called emotional literacy. And that means reading your body correctly and acting accordingly. And there's a differentiation is made between emotions and feelings. Emotions are actually the physical conditions, the processes in the body, and feelings refer to the awareness of these. And research suggests that women are better at reading their feelings than men. There are different theories about that, why women are better at that, which I'm not going to go into now. But what we all need to do is to become aware of this amazing instrument that we have been given, the way it functions and the way it influences our performance in terms of positive and negative stress, and give ourselves a break sometimes so that we can keep on performing in the top zone there. Thank you.